What's going on, golf addicts? David Barnett. This is my excited DraftKings Tour Junkies After Dark voice, and I am here, and it's a new year. It's a new season. People are starting to forget about the NFL. People are starting to pay more attention to golf. PGA DFS, betting on the PGA on DraftKings is a thing. While you're over there sweating freaking, a plus 150 number, we're over here hitting 30 to 1s and 60 to 1s and 150 to 1s on golf.
Right.
So what are you doing? You know what I mean, people? I'm talking to you. People.
I'm drinking. I thought you were talking to me. I was like, I'm drinking rosé that matches my shirt.
Yes, this is Tour Junkies After Dark. So we record this very late on a Monday night of a tournament week. I'm David Barnett of the Tour Junkies. That's Pat Perry of the Tour Junkies. We just finished our podcast recording. We've already had plenty of podcast juice. I'm not drinking rosé, but it is a vodka that shall go unnamed. And this is After Dark. It's late. We're feeling good. We're going to talk about some things we disagree about on the podcast. We're going to give you some sports book bets that we like over on DraftKings. We're going to talk a little strategy tonight because there's only 34 players in this freaking tournament. So there's not a whole lot to talk about. There's not a whole lot to disagree about. 34 players. All these guys had a good year last year for the most part. So there's not a ton of disagreement. But you do need to know that during the podcast, Pat always, or I will say typically, has a liquor drink. And then he switches to rosé strictly for TJ After Dark, which some would say is a very loser move. But, Pat is his own guy, and I'm not here to judge him.
I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do, so I don't care.
I'm not here to judge him. Judge him in the comments. You know what I mean? Like, while you're there in the comments, give us a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button over on DraftKings YouTube channel. Give the video a thumbs up, man. And if you think it's dumb, then why are you watching? Just get off. Don't comment or any of that stuff. That's just dumb. Pat, do you think it's possible that you could talk to the listeners about this golf course a little bit?
Yeah. So this week we're at Kapalua. We're at the Plantation course here. The biggest things this week that you're going to hear are there has been a little bit of a renovation to the course by Bill Core and Ben Crenshaw. It's something that is not, as Ben Crenshaw says, a redesign. So it hasn't been redesigned, but they have changed the contours of the greens a little bit. They've messed with the bunkers. They've messed with the tee boxes and things like that. But I still think this course is going to be played very similar to how it's always played. Now, that remains to be seen. We may see something different. When you see something like this with a lot of work being done to a course throughout the year, there could be something different that we see this year. But I still think this is a course that these guys can score on. The fairways are huge. It's easy to hit these fairways. The greens are huge. You got Bermuda grass tee to greens, so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of different there when it comes to as far as the course plays. But it's going to be a fun week. The wind is going to be key. There's going to be a lot of wind this week. Starting Thursday afternoon, going into the afternoon, like all the way through Sunday, there is going to be a lot of wind. So that will be key this week. But this course has typically played as one of the easiest courses on tour the last 4 or 5 years on tour. It's like the 50th ranked course as far as easy courses. So there you go. Bang. The rosé's kicking in.
Yeah. I'd say so. Yeah, a little bit of renovation, par 73, 7,500 yards. Looks long on paper, but I shorter players can contend, but we have definitely seen longer players prevail.
Zach Johnson's won here, I think, hadn't he?
That's loco. Yeah, I think it was a while ago. So, Patrick Reed's won here recently. He's not a long hitter by any means. But, yeah, it's an interesting golf course. I think in terms of DFS specifically, your most important factors are ownership leverage if you're playing tournaments because there's only 34 players.
For sure.
You got to have ownership leverage. And then just value overall, right? That's always the thing. But I do think scoring's important, birdies and eagles. I think that Pat mentioned Bermuda greens. I think that's a real big key. You see a lot of putting correlations here. These are big greens, a lot of undulation. 3 putts can be a thing. You need guys that can make 8-footers for a 2-putt and save par or make a birdie. So Bermuda Specialist is something that we're looking at. We talked about on our own podcast this week. It's a big deal. And yeah, other than that, like I talked about this on the podcast. Maybe there was some disagreement, Pat. I couldn't tell. But like,
not a lot.
Just this idea of like guys that want it more or need it more, right? Like,
we're going with that narrative. So like, this is just like the random narrative.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking like, not random, and it's not a thing that you need to weigh heavily, but it's just a thing that that could be a tiebreaker because
this is like strokes gained,
home life.
Life problems, life skills, home life, whatever.
Yeah, because they're in Maui, and some of these guys use this as a vacation. They bring the wife, they bring the kids, they bring the in-laws. They treat it is a thing. Some of these guys are single dudes. They're handsome and rich. They're maybe doing something else. And then the other factor that I think is more important is the FedEx Cup standings and what the new fall season format does for an event like this. Because now there are so many fall season events that if you don't play in them or you don't play well enough in them and you don't start this season with FedEx Cup points, you got to start thinking about that because now there are so many more events. You mentioned on the podcast even that Rory McIlroy said he's playing more on the West Coast this time instead of starting his season in Florida because of he doesn't want to be too far behind in the FedEx Cup. And I think that's a real thing for a few players in this field that go, hey, I managed to get myself here. There's only 34 players. I'm guaranteed to get FedEx Cup points. I may as well do the best I can and come out here and not mail it in and take this thing seriously. And do my thing. Now, again, I think that's very small. I don't think it's a big deal. Don't weight it heavily. But I think if it's a tiebreaker, you look at that. So that's something I'm looking at. So, yeah. And I think it'll come into play with one of the players that we're going to talk about here. Do you have any thoughts on that? Any further thoughts on strategy before we get into players?
I totally agree with that. I mean, another thing here is, look, this is just a short field event. There's 34 guys in here. I mean, it's almost like the Hero tournament we see back in early December. So it's very hard to expect to do a whole lot as far it's like if your expectations are high this week. Like I know we're all excited because the PGA Tour event is everything's starting this week and it's great and whatever else. Wait till next week, okay? Because this week is just another. Look, we got 30-something guys, no cut. Come on, I mean.
Okay.
Anything I know.
I get it. All right, so I think one of the players we disagreed with the most, a guy that you're fading, a guy that I'm playing, is Paul Casey. Now, my argument
I didn't say I was fading him.
You did say that on the podcast. Well, you said you did. You said you were fading Paul. You didn't understand why anybody.
Only because I think he's going to be incredibly high owned, and I don't want to play any high owned guys. And
any high owned guys?
30-something field event.
You're gonna have to play some high-owned guys because there's only 34 players, so the ownership's diluted.
Fading him, yes, you're right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I get that. I do think Paul Casey's a chalkier play of mine, but I like the play. I think Paul Casey is a guy that his ball striking is so good. He's elite in terms of ball striking, whether it's windy, if it's not windy, if it's a short course, if it's a long course, it doesn't matter. His game translates to any PGA Tour course you want to throw at him, it translates. He's always live to win. He doesn't win often, but he's always live to win. I like the value he presents on DraftKings, and I do think he's a player that you get that intangible that I was talking about because he didn't play very well in the fall. So he sits currently at 132 in the FedEx Cup standings. So if he's looking at himself going, I'm 132, I can make up a lot of points here if I just beat 33 guys or 32 guys or 31 guys. Like, I can get a lot of FedEx Cup points and I can make up a lot of ground early in the year at this no-cut, free-for-all event. I think he comes ready to play. I think he comes geared up and ready to go. I'm going Paul Casey. I think it's a good play.
I I can't hate you on that play. I mean, I'm all right with that. I mean, it's not like, look, Paul Casey is a fantastic player. I will say this: you were all in on some Dustin Johnson this week.
Oh yes, love it.
I don't know if I can play him. I mean, he's been a little injured. We haven't seen him all that much in the fall. I don't know if he played okay in the President's Cup. I mean, I think DJ is a concern this week. I don't know if I want to play him. I really need to be like sold on playing some DJ.
Well, I absolutely love the value that you get DJ. I think that's number one. I mean, $10,100 on DraftKings is the lowest you will get DJ all season long without fail. And I do think maybe some of that is the whole knee injury scare. But we saw him play the President's Cup. You're right, he didn't set the world on fire. He did beat the brakes off of Hao Tong Lee on Sunday in the singles, but that's because Hao Tong Lee was terrible.
Hao Tong Lee.
Yeah, he was terrible. But DJ wasn't terrible. He looked confident. I saw on his Instagram today he was playing a practice round. Today's Monday. Like, if a guy's playing a practice round on a Monday, that doesn't...
Did you check... When you check his Instagram account, do you immediately check Paulina's after that to see what she did? Or do you
No. I would never be guilty of such.
No, you would never do that. You would never. That's terrible. Why would you do that?
Yeah, anyway, he's playing a practice round today. I think the knee feels good. I think he's fine. He's got an incredible record here. He's gained almost double the amount of strokes in this tournament over the last 5 years of anyone in this field. He's gained 30 strokes in his last 4 years here. 2 years ago. Bomber has on record that he loves the course. All of those things, to me, it's a no-brainer that you play DJ. I do think, like Casey, he's chalk. I think he's probably more chalk than Casey. So that would be the only reason I would think to fade him. But for me, he's chalk I'm eating for sure. 100% love it.
Okay, good. All right, good.
If he's a white powdery substance on a table, I'm right up it. I'm going.
Okay, all right.
If that substance is chalk, if it's chalk, you know what I mean?
Chalk.
Like I'm gonna go ahead.
Yeah, you're sniffing some chalk. Okay. Yeah. So if you're sniffing that chalk, let's get into some bets. What are you thinking this week? We got.
So yeah, I'm looking at the DraftKings Sportsbook odds, and as we all know, I prefer the longer shot odds, especially in a field of 34 people, where a few people have zero chance of winning, and a few people may not really care and arrive in very little form with very little preparation. I love betting longer shot guys. In fact, last year we hit Xander Schauffele at 50-1, 55-1. We talked him up a lot last year, hit that. So I'm going to start right there in that range with our old buddy Kevin Kisner at 50-1. Kiz needs this tournament. I think Kiz shows up ready to go. Didn't have a great fall swing, and I think he knows he needs the points, and I think he's ready to rock and roll. I think he can win here. You talked about the wind. The wind is projected to be a trade wind, which is going to help a shorter player. He's going to have a lot of downwind, downhill shots here off the tee, which will help for lack of distance. He's a great Bermuda putter. Other than maybe Ricky Fowler, maybe one of the best putters in this field. I think he avoids a lot of three putts on these big undulating greens. So I love Kiz at 50-1. I'm going to go with Ryan Palmer in the, he gets the superlative for most happy to be here. I mean, the guy freaking got here. He got here because he, I guess he has blackmail photos on John Rahm and convinced Rahm to be his partner at the Zurich last year, and they won. And Palmer arrives here because of that. So I think he's just like, hey, if the wife is here, he's probably got her in the spa for the next 7 days, and he's going to be working on his game because he's got to be licking his chops at this event to think, man, this is an opportunity for me. He's a bomber. We've seen him win on the tour. He can pop. If he gets hot with the putter, I like him at 100-1. And then finally, I got to go with Lanto Griffin. You got to throw a little half unit, a little token at Lanto Griffin at 150-1. He just won this past season. He's a long hitter, one of the longest hitters on tour. newcomer to this event, and a lot of newcomers don't win here, but 150 to 1, little half unit, I'll do it.
All right, well, I can't blame you there. I like all those picks. I will say this. I'm going to go a little bit shorter odds. I think you can put larger units on guys like Ricky Fowler at 18 to 1, and also Paul Casey, a guy I'm not necessarily playing.
Okay, because the ownership, yeah.
On DraftKings, but I do like him as far as a bet's concerned at 18 to 1. So I do like him there. Also, Cam Champ at 45 to 1. He's another guy I like on DraftKings, and as far as bets are concerned, I like him at 45 to 1. I think that is a good play. Also, Sebastian Munoz at 70 to 1. I think he's a good play as well. I don't know if I have anybody really longer odds than that. That's it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
I don't hate those bets. I mean, obviously I like the Casey bet. Munoz is a close one for me. I don't know about the Cam Champ bet. I do like Cam Champ in DFS in tournaments. I think you're going to get some leverage with him. But do you really think? I mean, you think Cam's got a good chance of winning this event?
I do. I think Cam's definitely got a chance of winning this event. You talk about a course where if you are bombing it off the tee, you can score on par fives, which he can do. I feel like, and we saw him win, in the fall. I mean, I think Cam Champ can win this event. And here's another guy, by the way, because everybody, we've seen this guy just dominate in the fall. Why not throw some money on him? And that is freaking Brendan Todd. I mean, you're getting him at 55 to 1 on DraftKings. I mean, throw some money on him because the guy's just been dominating in the fall. So
I don't hate it. I think out of all the bets you mentioned, Champ is my least favorite. But I get it. I get it. And I mean, again, this is just one of those tournaments, 34 players, and you can bet on, guys, they're here because they've won. So, there's something to be said for that. This is an interesting event to make some money betting for sure. So there you go. We are back every single week giving you a little bit of course data, a little bit of strategy talk. We're going to talk about where we disagreed on the podcast earlier in the night. We're going to give you some DK Sportsbook plays. We're going to have a good time here. We like to keep it light. We like to keep it fun, relaxed. As you can tell, Pat is very relaxed. We just like to have a good time. Check us out, Tour Junkies, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're there. And go ahead and hit the thumbs up button here on DraftKings channel. We'd appreciate it. We will see you next week for the Sony Open at lovely Wailea. For the Sony Open next week. Full field event. That's exciting. That'll be a good time. Come back. Thanks for watching. See ya.